Thank you for being here today. I'm going to do a little bit different video than what I typically do and actually review a case study, a client of mine, and the progress that she has made. I think this could be very relatable and help a lot of women when they are in this period of life. She is 50 and in perimenopause, and knowing, that if she could do this, I can do this, I can feel better, and the steps that we took to get her to her end goals. So work with me here. I know this is not the best setup, but this is the first time I'm trying to do something with a whiteboard, and I know I've got a bit of a glare there. I'm hoping that you're able to see this. I am going to review everything and that this is okay. So give me a thumbs up if you're seeing it okay and you're interested in seeing more client studies, because anybody can throw out before and after pictures, which are great to see weight loss. But I think understanding the beginning factors or the starting factors that drove a client to even want to go down the health journey and change things can be even more beneficial for a lot of people and more relatable for women, because you're going to probably relate to a lot of the symptoms and the things that she was going through. And we're going to discuss it and the little tweaks we made to change it to help her reach her goals. If you are unsure of the amount of calories you should be eating, the amount of protein you should be eating, the carbs, the fats, all the things that we're going to talk about today and how I programmed it out for this client, this is my free guide right here. This is a calorie guide created specifically for women over the age of 35. It is jam-packed full of resources and educational tools to help you get started on the nutrition side of things and have an understanding of how we need to fuel differently as a woman moving closer into midlife, and this is for women 35 and older, and how to get started with that and start building a foundation. Let's get into my client. So this client is a 50-year-old perimenopausal woman. She started with me in April of 2025. It's now June of 2025, so just a few months ago, and she has made great gains in just this short amount of time. So when we started, we were 158 pounds and 2 ounces. Her shoulders measured 43 inches, her waist measured 35 inches, and her hips measured 41.5 inches. She was sitting around 30% body fat, and she was sitting around 57 pounds or so of lean muscle tissue. She is on the Mirena. She is also on an estrogen and testosterone, MHT, menopausal hormone therapy. And let's see, that's good with that. Okay, her mood, she stated when she started, was low, not low, but not high either. So just kind of like this, blah, like, nothing's exciting me, nothing's dragging me down, just kind of riding right here. She had unwanted weight gain. One of the main things that we've talked about when she started with me is that she has worked really hard over the last 2.5 years or so to lose the weight, and all she did was continue to gain weight. And so that has led to a lot of frustration, a lot of stress around her composition, how she feels about herself, and just frustrated because she thought she knew what she needed to do to get the weight down, but it wasn't working. Has broken sleep, slight constipation. She was doing a boot camp style class, like a burn boot camp, an Orange Theory, a F45, that style of class. She was doing that 4 times a week. She was also going for jogs throughout the week. She used to be a runner and did not want to get back into running, but was doing light jogs in addition to her 4 boot camps throughout the week. She walks her dog daily. She was averaging around 63,000 steps per day. And she fueled her pre-morning workouts with black coffee. So she was an early morning girl going to her boot camp classes on broken sleep, fueling it with black coffee. And she was stressed. She's got, just normal life stress, got a couple teenagers at home, got a job, got some other family things going on. And then she has this unwanted weight gain that she has literally busted her butt to try and get off and was seeing no results. So she just was not feeling great. She would hit the 3 p.m., 2 p.m. afternoon slumps, just low energy, just not feeling good throughout the day. So we want to change all of that. What I did to get started with her was each client, when they come and start working with me, fills out a very comprehensive check-in. And it is a series of questions that asks all about lifestyle factors, sleep, digestion, stress levels, workouts, did I say digestion again, because that's a big one. Anything and everything that could tell me about this person's lifestyle, what their day-to-day looks like, the current things that they are trying or doing, and their current habits, all of the kind of things that can help me understand more about this person, enable me to create a plan that will meet them where they are, but also help to propel them forward towards their goals. So once I've collected all this information and reviewed it, then I'll decide how I want to start with this client, programming them out. She was not a client that I felt programming out her macros immediately would have been successful. I feel like her frustration and her overwhelmment with everything that she'd been doing and how busy she was in her life, me trying to 180 her nutrition with telling her exactly, like, eat this many grams of protein, carbs, fats, just would not have been appropriate in the beginning. I needed her to ease into things. I needed to create sustainable habits for her in order to make getting more precise with food intake easier and not feel so overwhelming, or, you know, that it was just going to be too hard to do. So I started her with just simple weekday goals. I think there was 7 or 8 of them. And these weekday goals are pretty simple. It's like, I give you a couple things that I would like to see you incorporate into your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and get really consistent about having these foods in those meals. You can have other food with them, but these couple of things are your staples in these meals and non-negotiables. So we have these foods and then add on as you please. We talked about hydration. We talked about doing things for sleep, a couple of tips to help with sleep and try and get the broken sleep better. She wakes up around 3 or 4 every morning and then is restless and doesn't get real good solid sleep until the alarm goes off. Then you're fueling that with black coffee and going into a high cortisol driving workout. It's just this repeat pattern of increasing abdominal fat, and we wanted to break that pattern. So the first thing, like I said, was some of these habits, and then we worked on pre and post workout nutrition. I did not change exercise initially. Again, I think changing exercise and nutrition at the exact same time, asking somebody to 180 everything they're doing on both of those accounts, is too much. So with her, we started with nutrition. I felt that was the easier one to tackle. And so I started with the pre and post workout nutrition. We stopped the black coffee fueled mornings. We went in with some protein and carbohydrate pre-workout, and then we fueled post workout within 30 to 45 minutes of that workout, focusing on whole food nutrition. She was also supplementing with a lot of fiber supplements, doing a lot of, you know, protein balls, protein bars, things like that. And I really wanted to focus more on just whole food intake and fiber from whole foods. One of the components to abdominal fat gain for a woman in peri and postmenopause is when we have a decline of estrogen, we actually have a changeover in gut bacteria in the lower colon, our lower gut, our colon. And there's 2 bacteria in particular, and research has shown when one is elevated, it actually promotes fat gain or fat storage in the abdominal. It's a very high energy consuming bacteria, and that sounds like that would be a good thing, but it's not, because it gets stored in your system versus pushed out of your system. And then the other bacteria, when it's shown to be higher, it is associated with lean, healthy individuals. So when we have this decline of estrogen, it actually promotes the growth of the energy grabbing bacteria. One of our best ways to combat that is eating a high prebiotic fiber diet, especially ones high in polyphenols. The more polyphenols we have has been shown to help reduce that energy grabbing bacteria and increase the bacteria that keeps us nice and lean. So with her, I wanted to get off of the fiber supplements because they have no nutritional value and they do none of that good gut stuff that I was just talking about, and really focusing on how to get more whole foods in to help with digestion, help cure the slight constipation that we have, but also help us drop belly fat, her goal. So you don't have to eat any food that you don't like. There's so much food out there. You don't have to eat any food that you don't like on a weight loss plan. You can always find things that you like. So as she got real tight with the weekday goals that we assigned in the beginning, then we started progressing. Then I went into prescribing her macros for the day, telling her to work towards this amount of protein, carbohydrates, fiber, sugars, and fat throughout the day. And then once she started nailing that and having not a lot of issue with that, her fat tends to ride high. She does love her fats. So we just try to tweak that and balance that to help her continue to progress and see results. Then we went in with exercise. And first I just programmed out her an upper body workout to do at home. She has some teenagers at home with a lot of weights. Transitioning to a home workout for her was just fine. She didn't mind that at all, especially if I would write it out and she would know exactly what to do. And then we worked on, and then the next step was we brought in some sprint training. She actually attended a seminar that I taught, teaching women how to do proper sprint training over the age of 40. And then after we incorporated sprint training, I programmed out a lower body workout for her. So overall, over the time between April and June, we have backed off of the boot camp classes to where she's only going to 1 a week and doing 3 workouts at home. And, you know, 1 boot camp class a week, that's fine. Go, especially if you love it, your friends are there, you want to socialize. It's one that you don't have to think about. You can just go and do it. That's great. But it's when we're doing them chronically 4 times a week, then we're putting in more cardio, we're doing a tennis lesson, we're going to play golf. Like, we're just continually thinking the more activity we do, and, you know, the harder it is, like these boot camp classes, you know, they want you to feel like you've been run through a wall, and that's the sign of a good workout. And it's not. It's actually, when we're in this phase of life, the workout needs to be incredibly intense, but the volume needs to be reduced. So we get that with strength training. We need to lift very, very heavy to create the stressor on the body, to change the composition. The boot camp style classes are like what we call medium intensity. So they're intense enough that they don't allow proper and full recovery, but they're not intense enough to stimulate composition change. So it just kind of leaves you in this gray area where you might see that you continue to put on abdominal fat. So we wanted to get the strength training in, we wanted to get the sprint training in, because there is no better way to burn some belly fat than start incorporating some sprint training and fine tune. And then we just keep fine tuning week over week her nutrition, tweaking it, making changes. I'm reviewing workouts and talking to her on the workouts to make sure that the intensity is up, especially if you are someone who is not used to doing traditional strength training and you have never really pushed really heavy weight. You should go slow with that. So we wanted to incorporate it in, and I wanted to gently work her into it. 1, so that we don't injure ourselves, but 2, we start to learn how it's supposed to feel. So that's why we work on incorporating things slowly, 1 at a time. And we have this constant communication with our weekly check-in, so that I know that she's doing okay, she's comfortable with what's going on. And then if I need to titrate or modify or adapt things to continue for her to see results, I can do that through these check-ins. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, please give me a thumbs up if this was something that you like. I would love to do more of these. I have a ton of clients that I can review and show you what we've done, and each one is a little bit different. You know, I would say common symptoms among a lot of women is the fatigue and the mood and the constipation, but there are a lot of other factors that go in to why each client is different. The way you approach it is a bit different, but you can still get results, and you can still feel better and have higher energy and better mood, and, you know, and do the things in a sustainable way so that you can enjoy midlife, you can thrive in midlife. And that's it. All right. Thanks for being here.